Well, this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and we're here for Shir number 45.4 by Rabbi Mimran, Yosef Chaim Mimran. Let me flash you his face so that you could see it again. It is a little bit glary, but I do the best I can with my lighting. So this is Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran. He's still going. He's going strong. So we're coming over here, and we're moving along, and maybe we'll get to the end of 45.4. This is our 45th lecture, our reading from his book, which is called The Ultimate Connection with God. I recommend this for anyone who is interested in, Billy, what he says is to Vegas with Hashem. Deep ideas. So he says like this: the commentaries explain that when one gazes at the Sphira, as if that was possible, he can only do so. The only reason why we have a concept of spheros, and that we're able to actually, when he says gaze, I'm not sure what he means by that, but in other words, contemplate, is only because the patriarchs themselves are the chariot. The chariot means the vehicle that takes you to the spheros. They were not like swimmers. They were not just swimming around, finding the current to ascend upstream. That's not what they were doing. They were not struggling. And in other words, that's my relationship to them, is that they are not struggling to bring this to me, but in fact, like individuals smoothly floating on the still waters at the source. So basically, they were in control. So this is best expressed in the Sefer Yetzirah, one of the most ancient and mysterious Kabbalah texts. It states over there, an instant, seeing them like a lightning flash. This is like a revelation. One who reads this level may not remain there for more than an instant. He must run forward and immediately return, casting the various glimpse at the highest infinite levels. A later mystic, the Hasidic master Rabbi Nachman the Breslov, now I'm a Breslover, speaks of this with regards to the infinite being, that is the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. He writes, it is a light that is so high. In other words, it's something that we're reaching for. We can learn to reach for it. That one can only reach it by touching and not touching. In other words, it's what they call, forgot the word. It's a shar in the Eitz Chaim. Mati velo mati. You get there, but you don't. You get there, but you don't. Because the concept here, he writes it as light is so high that one only reach it by touching and not touching, fluttering back and forth so as not to perish within it. The prophets would meditate, and using again the phrase that's become popular from Breslov, is meditate, which is hisboded, on the highest mysteries of the spheros, as well as the supernal soul, which includes all attributes. They would depict these things in their mind with their imaginative faculty. Now, this is a big idea. If you can imagine it, you could put it into being. Okay, because you could put energy into the image. People do that who are crazy. But by the same token, the same use of being able to make images in your mind and infuse them with Kedusha, that's possible. So again, they would depict these things in their mind with their imaginative faculty, visualizing them as if they were actually in front of them. When their soul became attached to the spiritual, to the supernal soul, he means the real depth of Panemius, this vision would be increased and intensified. It would then be revealed automatically through a state where thought is utterly absent. In other words, the situation that Rabbi Mimran is talking about. So he says it was in this manner that the early saints would raise their thoughts, reaching the place from which their souls emanated, because they knew the pathways. Remember, he said originally that our fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, which is actually the three lines of Zeranpin, that they know the path, and we could follow it as they did. This was also the method of attaining prophecy. The prophet would meditate, hisboded, directing his heart and attaching his mind on high. What the prophet would visualize would depend on the degree and means of his attachment. he would then gaze and know what would happen in the future. This is the meaning of the verse, to him shall you cleave, with Lashon Devekas. So he said this is from the Rakanati, Parshas V'Yechi, other places. This is significant, since beauty, which is Tiferes, is one of the 10 Sephiros discussed in Kabbalah. The 10 Sephirot are will. He says will, that is will. What you will is called Keser. Learning ability is called Chochmah. Understanding is called Bina. Kindness is Chesed. Strength is Gevurah. Beauty is Tiferes. Dominance is Netzach. Submissiveness is Hod. Reproductive faculty is Yesod. Now the concept of receptivity, of being a base kibble, to be able to receive it, is Malchus. These Sephirots may be looked upon as dials. These dials can be used to amplify the experience that is associated with them. Now that's interesting. Thus, since beauty is one of the 10 Sephiros, one can turn up the dial and amplify the sensation. So the last part, we try to get into this little vort that he gives at the beginning, this little shtickle. He says, these Sephiros may be looked upon as dials that be used to amplify the experience associated with them. In other words, you could turn up the volume, you could turn it down. What I think for myself is that you need time and Yeshiva Das. You need, you're working, but on Rabbi Mimran and Rabbi Nachman, speak about using these techniques while you're working, while you're interacting with your family, etc., etc., etc. This is Baruch Fleischman, and this has been Shir number 45.4 of Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran in his book, The Ultimate Connection with God.